A Place for Us is a unique novel about an Indian family living in California. So does this book deserve a place on your top 10? Hi, I'm Amanda, and this is Spineless Books, your one-stop spoiler-free shop for all things audiobook. I discovered A Place for Us by Fatima Farheen Mirza when I was watching Cody Vest's Instagram. Cody does book reviews if you're not familiar. He was raving about this story, and honestly, I'd never heard of it, so it made me really interested, and I decided that I should try to get a copy. I'm really grateful to Cody for recommending this book, because this is for sure a new favorite of mine. This book falls into my favorite genre. Now, I don't know if this is a real genre or something that I've just made up, but I refer to it as realistic fiction. It's fiction, it's made up, it's not a true story, but it feels like something that could happen to you or someone you know. There's no magic, there's no fantasy, and as much as I love those things, it's just true to life storytelling. And I really appreciate this genre. I think it's definitely become a favorite, and I've enjoyed everything I've read in this realm for the most part. The drama of reality in this book begins when the eldest daughter of a family of 3 children is getting married. Now, you learn quickly that her brother has been estranged for over 3 years, and she and her parents and her sister are seeing him for the first time at this wedding. And essentially, right when they're about to get to this moment where you think you're going to figure out why he's been estranged, they cut back to their childhood instead, and they start all the way over at the beginning. You learn about how the parents got to America, you learn about how they raised each of the children, and you learn about the relationships between each member of the family. While the story primarily follows the eldest daughter, she's not our narrator. It's interesting in that the perspective shifts depending on her presence in the story. So when she's not around, we get a very different feeling. There's no inner monologue in this story. It's just direct observation from family member to family member. And Fatima Farheen Mirza did just enough to bait me pretty much immediately and get me really wondering why things were the way they were in this family. She starts out in the middle of a conflict, and it's genius because it pulled me in instantaneously. I had to know how we got here and where we were going to go from there. By backtracking through the family's life, you get a sense of why each child is exactly the way they are as an adult. You learn all the little events that had an impact on who they are as a person, and the situations with their parents that led them to make the decisions that they make now. It's a really fascinating way to be a voyeur in a story because you're getting to know everything about everyone in a way that they don't even necessarily know about each other. I love the way the eldest daughter was central to the story, but you get viewpoints from everyone in the family, which makes it really unique. This book actually felt, interestingly enough to me, like such a generational saga that it was really hard to finish it and not think a little bit about East of Eden. I haven't read a book like East of Eden since I read it, and I feel like I've been looking for that kind of multi-generational family saga, and also the way that East of Eden made me feel. This book comes really close. In fact, I probably would say it's the closest to anything that I've read since East of Eden, and I've been craving that feeling. So A Place for Us 100% satisfied that for me, even though it's very different than East of Eden. I found myself deeply moved by the story, and I had trouble pausing this audiobook. The chapters are long and they're very immersive, but I was so invested that I didn't want to pause in the middle of a story or a vignette or a scene or something being explained. So I think if you are interested in taking on this book, I would keep that in mind, that you're going to probably get sucked in and you're going to probably want to read or listen in very long stretches. I really found myself engulfed in this story fully, and it put me in a really weird place. I desperately wanted to know what was going to happen to the characters, how they were going to resolve things with each other, but I also really wanted to savor this world and this family. I felt like a member of their family, and I didn't really want to let go. So it was a weird conflict to be interested in finishing a book and knowing how it's going to go, but also wanting to stay in that world a lot longer. That's one of the ways in which this book reminded me of East of Eden. Each character in the story is depicted with flaws and virtues, and it made me really want to have all of them succeed. I couldn't really root for one person in particular, and I don't think Mirza is asking me to. I felt like my opinions about each person changed as I learned more about them and the things that they had done in life and done to their family members or had done to them by their family members. I changed my perspective on many of them. People who started out as sort of pure perfection got flawed, and people who seemed super flawed became more human and relatable. It was amazing to think that at the beginning I felt like there was a clear sense of right and wrong, but things got muddier as they went along, and the muddier they got, the more invested I got. I found the drama of this family weighed on me heavily. In fact, it made me reflect on events in my own life, whether it be family or with friends or colleagues. Things that required reconciliation or just sort of airing your grievances came up for me a lot. Now, I was deeply moved by what the characters were going through, but it was hard not to listen to it and think about how it related to my own life, even though I have not been in the situation that these characters are in. I was really impressed in particular with Mirza's ability to interject a small character into a scene and provide a conversation with that character that was transformative for one of our main characters. There were a couple of times that happened, that somebody who had a seemingly outside perspective was able to give one of the main characters a piece of information that radically altered their thought. And I think she did this exceedingly well. I was extremely struck by how each of the characters made seemingly minor decisions with good intentions, and how that had impact on the other characters. Sometimes they were aware of that impact, and other times they weren't. But this family really lays it all on the line, and they're there for each other, and they want the best for each other, but the ugly has to come out in order for that to happen. I had a little bit of trouble parsing who was the father and who was the son, who was the mother, and who was each of the two daughters. But once I got the names down, then it made it a lot easier, and it didn't really take me that long. I just remember feeling that way really distinctly in the beginning, like I kind of wasn't sure who was who, but I got there. That was helped in part by the great narration of Deepti Gupta and Sunil Malhotra. Now, Sunil Malhotra just makes an appearance for one small portion of the book. He's not the primary narrator. That job really falls to Deepti Gupta. But I think both of them did something really impressive in this book. They were extremely emotional in the narration, and they really portrayed the way the characters were feeling. Yet they also sort of disappeared. I think it's very easy for a narrator to be extremely over the top and draw attention to themselves, but they managed the perfect balance of emoting what the characters were being asked to emote by the author, and also being kind of a background player. So I think they were great narrators for this story, and they didn't really stick out, but they did stick out, and that's a hard line to walk. I think if you're interested in a family drama that will leave you emotionally wrecked and a little bit broken, but also is incredibly beautiful, then this book is for you. For me, this was a 5-star read, and I knew that by probably the first third of the story. I was very engrossed in it, and it didn't let go, and it really kind of still hasn't let go. Now, Cody Vest and I chatted a little bit online because I reached out to thank him for this wonderful recommendation, and we both agreed that we need to be team A Place for Us. More people need to know about this wonderful story and this amazing author, and I am on a mission to spread awareness. So if you read this book or you've read this book, please reach out and let me know in the comments. And if this review has helped you consider reading this book, please let me know that too. I really can't say enough good things about this story. It's deep and it's heartfelt and it's sad, but it's also hopeful. And it's one of the most beautiful books that I have read in 2025. So please check it out and let me know if you enjoy it as much as I have. But remember, you might love what I hate and hate what I love. So make your own opinion. But thanks for listening to mine. See you next time.